It started with a sound the Houthis never understood until it was already too late. A deep, metallic roar rolled through the desert air, not like a jet screaming overhead, not like a missile tearing through the sky, but something far more terrifying. A sound that didn't rush. A sound that stayed. A sound that chewed the air itself apart. And then, the ground exploded. Within seconds, a Houthi missile launcher that had threatened ships, aircraft, and entire shipping lanes was reduced to twisted metal and burning dust. No warning. No escape. Just overwhelming force delivered with brutal precision. This was the A-10 Warthog in action. And this was the moment everything changed. For weeks, intelligence had been quietly building. U.S. surveillance assets tracked Houthi movements across rugged terrain, mobile launchers hidden between hills, dragged into firing positions under cover of darkness, then moved again before anyone could respond. These launchers were not symbolic targets. They were real threats, each one capable of launching missiles toward commercial shipping, military aircraft, or allied naval vessels in the Red Sea. The Houthis believed they were untouchable. They were wrong. Late one night, high above the region, an A-10 Thunderbolt II, better known as the Warthog, entered the operational zone. It wasn't fast. It wasn't sleek. It didn't need to be. This aircraft wasn't built to impress. It was built to kill ground targets and survive anything fired back at it. The pilot sat inside a titanium bathtub, surrounded by armor thick enough to stop anti-aircraft fire. Below him, mounted directly into the nose of the aircraft, was one of the most feared weapons ever created, the GAU-8 Avenger. A 30mm rotary cannon designed for one purpose only, total destruction. Each round fired by the GAU-8 is the size of a soda can. Depleted uranium, armor-piercing, traveling at nearly the speed of sound. When fired, the recoil is so powerful it physically slows the aircraft in midair. This is not a weapon you use carefully. This is a weapon you unleash. As the A-10 descended, its sensors locked onto a Houthi launcher positioned near a dry riverbed. The crew on the ground believed they were hidden. Camouflage nets, terrain masking, radio silence. They never saw the aircraft. Inside the cockpit, the targeting reticle settled. The pilot's breathing slowed. Years of training narrowed into a single moment. Permission to engage was confirmed. And then the trigger was pulled. The sound came first, a violent, mechanical thunder that echoed across the desert. BRRRRRRRRT. In less than 3 seconds, dozens of 30mm rounds slammed into the launcher and the surrounding ground. The impacts were not explosions in the traditional sense. They were violent penetrations, metal tearing through metal, earth vaporizing under raw kinetic force. The launcher disintegrated. Missiles cooked off. Fuel ignited. The entire position vanished beneath smoke and fire. By the time the echo faded, the target no longer existed. On the ground, there was no firefight. No counterattack. No second chance. The strike was over almost as soon as it began. That is the reality of the A-10 Warthog. Built during the Cold War to hunt Soviet tanks, the aircraft has survived decades of debate, attempted retirement, and criticism. And yet, every time a high-value ground target must be destroyed with certainty, it returns. Because nothing else does the job like this. The GAU-8 cannon is not just mounted on the aircraft is built around it. Engineers designed the fuselage to absorb recoil, the wings to remain stable under fire, and the engines to survive damage from below. The A-10 can fly with half a wing missing. It can land with one engine. It can return home, riddled with holes. And it can keep firing. After the initial pass, the pilot circled. Smoke still rose from the impact site. Thermal sensors confirmed what visuals already suggested: total kill. No movement. No surviving equipment. Mission accomplished. But the message traveled faster than the aircraft ever could. Within hours, Houthi communications channels buzzed with confusion and fear. Mobile launchers began dispersing. Crews refused to stay in position for long. Radar systems went dark. Commanders realized something unsettling. They weren't being hunted by a missile or a drone. They were being hunted by a gun. Unlike a missile strike, there was no warning plume. No incoming alert. Just an aircraft appearing overhead and erasing targets in seconds. That psychological effect mattered. For years, the Houthis had relied on mobility and concealment. Move fast. Fire once. Disappear. But the A-10 didn't need long tracking time. It didn't need perfect coordinates. Once it saw you, it stayed with you. And when it fired, there was no escape. Military analysts watching the strike footage later pointed out something important. This wasn't about technology dominance. It was about fit for mission. In an era of stealth fighters and hypersonic weapons, a slow, heavily armored aircraft armed with a massive cannon proved exactly why it still mattered. The A-10 wasn't there to intimidate. It was there to finish the job. Satellite imagery later confirmed the scale of destruction. What had once been a functional missile system was now scattered debris across hundreds of meters. Secondary explosions indicated stored munitions had detonated. The site was unusable. More importantly, it wouldn't be reused. For Allied naval forces operating in the region, the strike meant immediate relief. One less launcher. One less threat. One less unpredictable variable. For the Houthis, it was a warning written in fire. The A-10 made additional patrol passes before exiting the area, its engines humming steadily as if nothing unusual had happened. No dramatic exit. No high-speed climb. Just quiet dominance. Back at base, the pilot shut down the engines and climbed out of the cockpit. There was no celebration. No cheering. Just routine post-mission checks. Data downloads. Debriefing. Because for the A-10 community, this wasn't extraordinary. This was what the aircraft was built to do. And this strike reminded the world of something easy to forget in modern warfare. Sometimes, the most effective weapon isn't the newest, the fastest, or the most advanced. Sometimes, it's the one that never stopped doing its job. The GAU-8 didn't need seconds. The launcher didn't need a second chance. And the A-10 didn't need to prove anything. It had already done that, again. And that is what happened when the A-10 Warthog went into action, and shredded a Houthi launcher in seconds.